My name is Dylan. I live in Chicago, Illinois, and I've been into fisting for I've been as a fisting top. I've been doing it for about 6 years. It's my first interest started when I was watching porn on the internet at 15. I loved leather and water sports and fetish, and that just slowly progressed. And then I found fisting and loved the way an asshole looked being fisted.
Okay.
When I was 21, I was in Chicago and I met a man that was on XTube. I'd watched a lot of his videos and I reached out to him, told him that I've jerked off to pretty much every fisting video that you have on the internet. And the following Wednesday we had coffee, then the next day I was fisting him. That was my first time ever fisting somebody.
What is it about fisting that you find so enticing?
There's different facets. I like the intimacy of it because when you're inside someone with your hand, you can actually feel their heartbeat or their pulse on your wrist, and it's a beautiful connection. And like with all fetishes, it allows you to build a stronger connection and bond to someone. And as I've been fisted a few times, it's been a couple of years, so I'm a born again fisting virgin. It feels like. But when the last time I got fisted, and every time I've been fisted, it's been magical. I went into this internal space in my head, and I could feel myself opening up to the person physically because that's what was happening. And those people that I've had that experience with, they're still close friends of mine. I talk to them regularly. I try to see them whenever I can, because building those bonds, and no matter what you do, is a wonderful feeling.
Okay. So for people who have an interest in fisting, say for example, people who are interested in fisting as a top, what are some tips that you would advise for somebody who's interested in learning more about fisting and getting involved in the scene?
When fisting as a top, the important things to know about are hand care, about taking care of your fingernails, wearing gloves, the right kind of lube. You can never have enough lube because the bottom might be in a situation where they can't put lube on themselves. So the lube is going to be your job. So anytime they ask for more lube, you put more lube. Even if you feel they don't need it, it might be a mental thing because they feel that you're adding more lube. Okay, they might get more relaxed. Nail care and gloves. The asshole is very sensitive, and so when nail care, the important part is clipping your nails down and then filing them and buffing them until the edges of them are soft, because you do not want to cause anal fissures. You don't want to cause any damage in there, because the way I say it, don't break your toys because you can't play with them again. Because if you give someone an anal fissure and they can't bottom for 3 months, they're probably not going to call you back.
It's very, very true.
And other things as a top, gloves. Nitrile gloves are the best, in my opinion. They work with all types of lube. You don't have to worry about a latex allergy, and I feel they fit really well in the hands. And that's what you kind of want. You want a nice, tight and comfortable fit. You don't want a loose glove. It's kind of like the idea of like someone buying too large of a condom. It's just going to slip off. And taking it slow. You can't. There's fisting or any fetish should never be rushed. Take it slow and as comfortable as you need to.
So when you say taking it slow, you hear people talk about scenes that go for hours, and so what would normally be entailed in a fisting scene as a top? What would somebody expect?
When I top, the best advice that I can give is communication and foreplay. Communicate and talk. Find out each other's interest, and is the person more submissive and likes to, someone to be more directive and, say, go clean out, hop in the sling or set the sling up? Or are they want someone who's more sensual and they want to be cuddled first, and maybe you finger them a little bit and you really build them up to it, because they're not going to open up if you're not willing to work to that point. Experienced people are different. Some people I played with people that my fist went right in.
Yeah.
But a lot of people aren't to that level, and especially if there's someone who's still new, or if you have large hands, you're not going to get in there that easily. It's going to take some work, and every asshole is different. They all curve slightly differently, so you have to figure out how best to get your hand in there. We joke around in the fisting community about like the goose head, because it looks like a goose, but it's the best for giving you like a tapered beginning, because it slowly works their way up and then in. But before you even get to that point, the inside, once you're massaging in there and putting lube in there, you really need to push your fingers around to really open up their inside, because think of it kind of like this. It's like a closed fist, and then you can barely get like a finger or two in there. And then by massaging around in there, you're actually causing the inside to be more spacious. And eventually, so that when your hand does get in there, there's room for it. This is all preventative care stuff, because you don't want issues, because the person might start cramping up. It might become too sore too quickly and they want to end the scene. And taking it slow and easy makes the scene more enjoyable and last longer.
For the bottom in the scene, if you're interested in it but you've never gone to that level, what recommendations would you have for somebody who's a fisting bottom?
If you're new to it, or you're like me, I'm actually in the process of restretching myself to be able to take a fist, patience. Patience, cleaning out, playing with someone you actually know and respect. Don't go online and being like, oh, I just want to find someone to fist me, you don't care who it is. Have a connection with them, because that's going to make it more meaningful, that's going to make it more pleasurable, and by building a connection with someone, you also find out how experienced they are at it, because you don't want to play with someone who's like, oh, I'm into fisting, yet they don't even know how to trim their nails back, or like if they don't know how to trim their nails back, they also don't want to wear gloves. That's just irresponsible. So play with someone who's experienced, and get to know them a little bit, because their hand's gonna potentially be inside of you. You should. I feel personally that, especially if you're stretching yourself, play with someone that you're into, because you're going to be into it a lot more if you are. Patience, anal toys, learning your body and your capabilities. I actually find that I open up more when I'm playing by myself. I can clean out, hop in the shower, and hop on some toys, and I find that I can take the toys deeper when it's just me than when I'm playing with someone. And because it's been 3 years since I've taken a fist, so.
So what sort of toys would you recommend for somebody who's becoming interested in fisting?
There's wonderful companies who actually have training toys. My favorite one is Square Peg Toys. I know the owner, he's a wonderful guy, and he knows his stuff. I mean, he is a fister. He loves toy play. But the important thing is, you might go to a store and you see something, huge and large, and you're just like, I want that in me. That's not going to happen. Start small. And since these are beginning toys, don't spend too much money, but also don't buy something rigid and cheap that'll fall apart, or breaks down with silicone lube, or sometimes some toys that are cheap, they're too hard, and that's really unlike the human body, because a penis isn't as solid as a rock or glass, but a hand is a little firmer.
Certainly, one of the things I like about Square Peg is they're using medical grade silicone. It's easily sterilized and easily cleaned as well.
I boil mine because it gets rid of everything that you can really worry about, and and I can keep them all together. I don't have to worry about multiple toys of different compounds being like laying next to each other and disintegrating, basically. Because sometimes cheap toys like PVC will do that when it's next to silicone. And you can also use any type of lube you want with them. I actually have some on me.
So, let's have a toy show and tell for a starting fister. Let's have a look at some toys that you would recommend.
So these are some toys that I'm using to re-stretch myself. I am a little bit more experienced at the bottom, but the toys that taper, that start off small and that gradually get bigger, are some of the best toys you can invest in. My favorite, and this is my little toy bag.
Aww. Lovely.
Also, I always carry my toys in the carry-on because if TSA is going to give me shit about it, I'd rather know that they're still with me than they just get confiscated out of my check bag.
Has people had toys confiscated?
I haven't, but I'm not going to risk that because these aren't cheap.
Okay.
These have been traveling with me, so every time I travel, I re-sterilize and clean the toys because sometimes they get gunk on them, being in backpacks and whatnot. But this is Yam. The story behind it is that Scott actually made it after a real yam that he found at a farmer's market. But if you can see, it looks kind of like a big uncut cock. And it's great because it tapers. So it starts off fairly small and almost like, that's like a regular head of someone's dick. And then it slowly gets bigger and slowly gets bigger. And then it has this bulb at the end, which is nice because if you can take that bulb, you can take both my hands. But you're not going to get to that point the first time. I do play with bottoms who can take this entire thing. And they are a lot of fun. But this is something that you'd want. Something that's still phallic shaped, gradual stretch, and square peg is super soft. So it kind of squishes with the body. So it's a little bit of a give. And you can use any lube with these. That's the other great part. J-lube, silicone-based lube, water-based lube, doesn't matter.
Cool.
In fisting, there's several different types that I talked about. There's people who like width. They just want like two hands inside them. And just to have that stretch, that's one of the things I like. I just like that stretch. And the day after feeling, like my hole's been used. There's width. So there's width, depth, and punch. Depth. There are certain people who are into depth. It's not really one of my things, but I have toys for that. This is Slink.
Okay.
Because like I said, it was like weird and wobbly and...
Yeah.
It's meant to just squirm all the way up past the sigmoid colon. Some people like that feeling. It does tingle.
Okay. So what sort of sensation would a toy like that give?
This has been several years since I've taken this. It was I had to breathe into this toy because it goes through several little sphincters, like the different areas of the digestional tract that like to close off and make sure things don't go through there, except for when your body's ready for that. Which is when breathing comes in, like because you need to relax and open up. Like Lamaze classes. Except for don't breathe like that. That'll actually cause you to like your asshole to tense up in my experience.
So that would be a depth toy.
Yes. Like I've fisted someone to my shoulder before, but that person is also 6'11". So
he's a big unit.
Yeah. A lot of fisting bottoms that are really experienced have a phrase, if you can reach my heart, you can have it. Because we banter when we're fisting. A lot of people banter when they're fisting. I've played butt plug shot put with people before. I just punched a butt plug in and then they just shot it back out.
There you go. So what would a punch toy be like?
Butt plugs are great for that, and I think I have one. With punch fisting, the in and out is what like the sensations that really drive them over the edge. So this is a butt plug. It's great when you're a smaller one is great when you're first getting into fisting, because you can put one in you for a while and really like relax into it once it's in there and allow your body to get used to that being open.
Mm-hmm.
Because once this one's inside of you, it keeps you at least that much open.
Mm-hmm.
The entire time it's in you. There's nowhere for there's nowhere for this to go except for back out.
Mm-hmm.
And these are fun because like a punch fister, they just want like this going in and out, in and out. And because of the way the body is and the prostate gland, you can trigger an orgasm anally.
Mm-hmm.
And fisting can do that quite easily, because I mean all the knuckles can cause extra sensations as you rotate your fist. And I'm considered as a like a bottom, on the bottom side of it, a pisser. Like if I get to the point where I'm having this orgasmic sensation anally, a little bit of piss shoots out.
Mm-hmm.
It's intense. It's wonderful. It sends you over the wall. But it's worth it. And so that's like the three types. I mean, sometimes people are like, they like width and punch.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just like the in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, getting fucked when that sensation of when we get to that point where I'm opened enough where they can just go in, out, I love that.
Mm.
It's I think that's one of the things that got me into the idea of being fisted as a bottom.
Okay. So if somebody's wanting to learn more about fisting, right, what resources would you recommend for them so they can learn more, meet experienced people, and...
Well, we have wonderful websites nowadays. Recon, AskPig is another one. That's actually a pretty big fisting one. What else is there? In Chicago, we have a group for fisting called Mafia. In Minneapolis, they have a group as well called Cavern Dwellers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in big cities, it's going to be easier to find someone. Unfortunately, if you're in smaller areas, you're probably going to have to play with yourself a lot more to get yourself more open and ready.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm in Chicago, I can just hop onto any app and be like, hey, I want to fist somebody, and there will probably be a line of people. Okay. Because in Chicago, there's a lot of fist bottoms.
Okay, fair enough. Do you have any books that you recommend? Any video sites that are educational?
I actually don't know of any educational video sites because I was taught in person. Mm-hmm. I was very fortunate to find this guy who was from XTube, and I didn't message him on XTube, but I ran into him in person. I travel in the United States and teach fisting. I've taught fisting at gay campgrounds, different fetish weekends. And I love, if you have the opportunity to go to a fetish event, is probably my favorite way to learn, because if fetish events have classes, not everyone does, but some of them do, they usually have a fisting class.
Mm-hmm.
And you are going to learn tips, possibly see a live demo, you're going to learn tips from the top and the bottom, and you get to meet other people who are also either beginners, experienced, or just people who are into it, because there's a lot of people into it.
Cool. So, if somebody wanted to talk to you briefly, or just maybe ping a few questions in your direction, is there a way that people could contact you?
Yes, they can email me at thefistingginger@gmail.com.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. That's really appreciated.
You're welcome.